like to reconvene the Thursday, February 24th, 2022 Roanoke County School Board meeting. We've been in closed session. Mr. Ray, would you read us out of closed,
Yes,
please?
sir, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: to discuss ongoing personnel matters under investigation pursuant to the personnel exemption at 2.2-3771A1 of the Code of Virginia, and to discuss the investigation of a student matter pursuant to the scholastic record exemption at 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia, and to discuss the acquisition of real property for public purpose where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position and negotiating strategy of the school board pursuant to the real property exemption at 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff pertaining to actual and probable litigation and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, I missed part of that. Could he? I second.
No.
You gotta read it.
How about the motion to certify also?
Yes, I move to certify that the best of members' knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the chapter, and only public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session meeting was convened were heard, discussed, and considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, the roll.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.03, action from closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to allow students 2021, 2022 numbers 21, 22, 23, and 24 to be exempt from the Roanoke County schools under our religious exemption.
Second.
Second. Madam Clerk, the roll.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. All right, item number 3, welcome everybody. Another good crowd tonight, which is nice to see. If we can stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item number 4, announcement of, or 4.01, announcement of changes to the agenda. Anybody? No?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented, item 4.01 and 02.
I'll second that. Madam Clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Item number 5, presentation and recognitions. Dr. Nicely, item 5.01. Recognition of the month of February 2022 as School Board Appreciation Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The month of February marks the annual observance of School Board Appreciation Month, a time to salute the work of school board members and celebrate public education. The theme of this year's celebration, Building the Future of Public Education, reflects the partnership of the Virginia School Boards Association with local school board members as they serve their local divisions and advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders on behalf of all students. Local school boards keep the public in charge of public schools since they represent their community's beliefs and values. In Roanoke County Schools, school board members must develop policies and make tough decisions on complex educational and social issues impacting the entire community. They bear responsibility for an annual budget of more than $200 million, more than 13,400 students, more than 2,200 employees, and more than 30 buildings. They preserve the core of our democracy, public education. Too often we neglect to recognize the dedication and hard work of these men and women who represent us. I invite our community to recognize and celebrate the work of our school board. Thank you, school board members. And we have a certificate for each one of you, and we probably want to get a photo.
Thank you.
Thank all the schools who have made the displays. They're out here expressing appreciation.
All right, item number 5.02, recognition of February 2022 as CTE Month. Mr. Jason, sir, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. Along with School Board Appreciation, February is also recognized as CTE Month. Over the years, the school board has supported a robust array of CTE course offerings taught in our 5 middle schools, 5 high schools, and at Burton Center. Each year, thousands of our students are taught by a cadre of our outstanding CTE teachers in 6 different content areas. The CTE department continues to lead the way on a collaboration with Salem City Schools and Roanoke City Schools on the Regional Registered Apprenticeship Initiative. And I don't know if you heard, but we had a great turnout for our showcase. And we also are looking forward to a signing day on May 20th that was just announced. So hoping you can make it out for the May 20th signing day. It's going to be at the Red Sox Stadium again. Of course, excitement is also growing in anticipation of a new specialty center being built, which will afford many more opportunities for our students. And students from across the county are also showing, at least initially here, excitement for the new Navy program that'll be housed at William Byrd High School. We're excited about getting that off the ground next school year. In recognition of CTE Month, I wanted you to hear from some of our student and teacher perspectives on what CTE training means to them. We just have a very short video.
I mean, just in the past few years, technology is just like advancing so much, and it's all changed, and I think we have an edge because we get to learn how to understand that stuff and how it interlocks within each other,
You learn to work well with others and meet new people and that sort of thing. And when it comes to core classes with like group projects and like that sort of thing.
The important is it develops the kids that may struggle with just learning from books, get some hands-on, and it just ties real life applications into these kids' minds. Most adults don't know what they want to do when they grow up, right? So, especially at a middle school level, it's so good to expose them to some different things that they may want to do when they grow up.
That's our goal, is to expose a lot of, especially at the middle school level, to do those exploratory type things. And as they work into the high school, they have more opportunity to focus. Of course, our specialty center over at Burton allows students to do that in a lot of different ways, and we look forward to the future there. As you can see, our students continue to value the opportunities in CTE, and in recognition of School Board Appreciation Month, thank you, the school board, for your continued support of career and technical education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sir. All right. Item number 5.03, School Spotlight, William Byrd Middle School, Mr. Todd Kegels. But
Oh, and
first,
I'm
we
gonna
have Mr.
introduce
Mike
them.
Riley. Very
Yep.
nice.
We're excited that we're continuing our Spotlight series tonight. We had an elementary school last time. Tonight, we've got one of our Spotlight middle schools. We're very excited to hear from not just Mr. Kegels, but he's got some other representatives of the school community here with him tonight. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Todd Kegels.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. And school board members, I just want to say thank all of you for the time that you put into making our schools what they are. As somebody who has spent their entire professional life as a teacher, coach, and administrator and working with kids, I know what it's like to spend a lot of time in the school system, and I appreciate all the time that you guys put in. So thank you very much, all of you, but especially you, Mr. Greenway. So tonight, Mike asked us to come out and spotlight William Byrd Middle School. So what I did was I reached out to my staff and asked them to put together basically an advertisement for the school, and they've done that. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. We're going to play that, and then we're going to hear from some students who exemplify our push towards deeper learning. And I also want to say a big thank you. I know a lot of my staff will be watching tonight, the live stream, and I want to say thank you to them. The last 2 years have been stressful for everybody in education, and they have done an absolutely amazing job, and I'm super proud of them. So I want to say thank you to them. Chuck? So I just need to say thanks to Rob Mitchell who put that together for us. You saw a bunch of student work, the photographs, and those sorts of things. The projects that were in there were all done by students at William Byrd Middle. I know it's hard to look at pictures and kind of figure out what's going on there. Some of the things we're really proud of, William Byrd Middle School is a school to watch, has been, we're on our second round, getting ready to actually apply for our third round next year. Our team, that's teaching, empowering, advising, and mentoring program. We do that every day. We began that this year. I think we're the only middle school that has a daily team meeting. The Second Step program you saw there, that's the social emotional learning program. We've completed more social emotional learning lessons than anybody else in the county. And of course, our focus on deeper learning along with all the other schools in the county. Our teachers use what's called the 4 shifts protocol to plan those lessons, and we have an example of one such lesson here tonight. We have Keith Schultz and Elizabeth Martinez and their teacher, Megan Herndon, with us. Megan does an amazing job with her students. She's actually split at 3 different schools. That's incredibly difficult to do. Teaching's hard anyway, and over 3 schools, it's very difficult. But she does an amazing job with them. So we're going to show you a short video with these exceptional young folks and then let them tell you about their project.
The delegate from Botetourt, Delegate Head.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, joining us in the gallery today, we have 2 8th grade students from William Byrd Middle School, Elizabeth Martinez and Keith Schultz. And they're standing now. To give you a little background on these 2, they decided that they didn't like the SOL tests. And they started talking with their teacher about this sometime earlier. And the teacher told them, you know, you have the right to petition. They began to circulate a petition, and then they contacted my office and asked me if I would be willing to talk with them about it. And we set up a nice meeting about that, at the conclusion of which I said, all right, here's an assignment for you. I want you to go get some other information, bring that back to me again, and hopefully you'll have a chance to come and meet with me in the Capitol while we are in session, see more of how we get things together, and then I'll hear what you've pulled together for me. They took me up on that. They've been visiting, watching committees work. They were watching us today on the floor. They've had a tour of the Capitol, and they gave me some great information this morning. I can tell you, I think we're going to have a piece of legislation crafted next year that these 2 had their hand in that we will hope to be bringing forward. I would not be a bit surprised if you didn't see either one or both of them someday serving in this chamber, because it really is pretty astounding. They are really, really sharp kids. And they are joined by Elizabeth's mother, Danielle Middleton, and I hope it will be the pleasure of the House to give these folks a warm house welcome.
The delegate from Isle of Wight, Delegate Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an...
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. So in civics, so I teach advanced civics at William Byrd Middle School, and like you said, I do teach at 3 different schools. But anyway, so in this class, I like to use real life application, especially when it comes to civics. And we were talking about voting. It was the political process unit. And the kids were like, well, we can't vote, Miss Herndon. And I was like, I know, but there are other things that you can do to voice what matters to you. And so they were like, well, what can we do? And I was like, well, you could write a petition. And they wrote several copies and brought them to me. And I was like, you guys need sources. You need research to add to this petition for people to take it seriously. And they did that, and they put a lot of effort into it. So I'm really proud of them. And it worked out for them, too. So I'm going to let them talk about it a little bit.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Martinez. So our petition is, as she said, to end SOLs. We have done much research on this matter and how it is detrimental to students' mental health and things such as that, and how it creates stress on teachers when they have to teach to the test. We have gotten many opinions from teachers and students around multiple school systems as to what their opinion is on the SOLs. They've all said that they wish they were gone. In our petition, we have stated one alternative, and outside of that, we have researched numerous. So we hope that one day this will actually go into effect, and I will see you again.
Hi, I'm Keith Scholl, and as you said before, we've researched on different alternatives like private schools and what they do as in different just alternatives for SOLs that would be much better. And I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greenway?
You can't imagine how proud I am. So, y'all are lightning rods and wonderful, and you've done something I haven't done. I speak to Mr. Head quite often, but I've never went there to do so, and I think that is so cool. And Ms. Herndon, you deserve a lot of credit for. Yes, you do, absolutely. In fact, what do we got to do to get her William Byrd Middle full time? How does that work? So can I pressure? Can we pressure? Pressure. So that's awesome, and really, and to stand up here and speak to Mr. Head, you're just outstanding, and so happy that you're a part of our community. William Byrd Middle, we absolutely have the best staff, best teachers. Do I need to keep going on, or are you
Probably
gonna,
not.
Are you going to cut me off at some point? But thank you, and man, you really make us proud. Love seeing these stories, and I hope you continue. And I'm with you on getting rid of SOLs, and so we hope to see you back. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Mr. Kegels. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. Well, that was impressive, really, really impressive. Thank you so much for using your teaching as an experience to children for real world application. That certainly is one of the best examples of it. I love when I see students use their voice to put things into action, and you guys did exactly that. It's scary, it's hard, but you took that step forward, and I commend you for it. And I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future. Congratulations, it's a big deal.
Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Students never cease to amaze me. I mean, you can get up and speak with fluent. I remember speech in college. I was so scared I was trembling. I couldn't even speak. Now, you're in high school and you're writing legislation.
Still in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, middle school. It's amazing. It really is that you take that much interest in, that's what democracy is about. You want to give what you feel, and you found out talked to a lot of people and found out that they're the same way. And you can make changes that way. So kudos to y'all. Great. Thank you.
Great job. Congratulations for having that opportunity. And I'm so impressed because in this day and time, I feel like a lot of people are willing to complain, but they're not willing to step up and make a difference. And you guys literally just showed us how it's done. Thank you very much. And to your teacher, you have to be very proud, and we're proud to have you. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Mr. Kegel's great presentation there, and some exciting things obviously going on at William Byrd Middle School. You picked two tremendous students to come in and help highlight that tonight. So appreciate everything that you're doing over there, and to the two of you, yeah, we look forward to what you will do not only throughout the remainder of your career in our schools, but after that as well. So. My wife is a product. She was a terrier, and a long time ago. I think that was at the old William Byrd Middle School. But
She went astray. She married him.
she turned out okay. So we do appreciate everything you're doing over there. Thank you, Mr. Kegels.
Thank you.
Yes, thank y'all. Excellent.
All right, item number 6, report by Student Advisory Council. They have not met since our last meeting, and Taylor was not able to come this evening, therefore she did not have a report. So we'll move on to item number 7. Hearing of citizens and delegations. We have a few speakers this evening, the first of which is Winter Schossberger.
Thank y'all.
Welcome back.
Hi, friends. I'm Winter Schossberger. I live in Holland. I want to start tonight by thanking Dr. Nicely for responding to my concerns about the ACH in our schools. He assured me that replacement external filters are being ordered for the existing HEPA units, and that more HEPA units are being ordered for spaces without one and spaces where one isn't enough. This issue is personal for me. My children attend Mountain View Elementary, where the building's air system is operating as it was designed to do so, which is to say, not good enough now. Yet, There's nothing that can be done about that because there's not enough money in the budget. One space in the building with dimensions beyond the capacity of one HEPA unit is my first grader's classroom. I know this because I've been in that classroom countless times over the past 4 years for class parties, conferences, PTA meetings, and more. That classroom is a place where magic happens. It's a place where kids come as they are and are met where they are. They are cared for emotionally first, and then they are taught. In that classroom, teaching is about finding out what works for each child and helping them use it to help themselves. It was a transformative experience for my oldest child, who's a bit of a square peg in a system built of round holes, and again for my youngest child, who needs to feel your investment before he'll trust you. Anyone who knows Mountain View already knows the teacher I'm referring to, and I never had to say their name. I told you before, I serve as PTA treasurer. Did you know that we give teachers a small allotment for items that they buy out of their own pocket? It's not nearly enough to cover everything they need, but we provide what we can because they don't receive enough in the budget to do what they need to do. The teachers at Mountain View pour their hearts into their students every day, so we as the PTA try to pour back into them. We have provided water to classes that didn't have sinks to refill water bottles when distancing requirements moved them from their actual classrooms. We raise money to update outdoor play spaces, help with copy costs, support special class projects or equipment purchases, and we do this all even though funding isn't the purpose of the PTA. We do it because there's not enough money in the budget. I am well aware that public education is extensively underfunded. The critics want us to believe that public schools are dying when the reality is that they're being suffocated. Still, the people in our schools rise to meet every challenge and continue loving, educating, counseling, feeding, and socially developing our children, even when financing the cost of that work is not in the budget. The teachers and students at Mountain View deserve better. The teachers and students in Roanoke County deserve better. You have a voice as a board to demand better for our schools, our teachers, and our students by advocating and voting for adequate funding for public schools. Please use that voice.
Thank you, Ms. Strasburger. Next speaker, Katie Drawl. Welcome.
Good evening. I was encouraged to hear many of the board members speak out in favor of pay raises for our teachers at the last meeting. I am, however, concerned as pay is only one part of the larger overall compensation package. Historically, each year the board has raised pay. It has also raised the employees' portion of the insurance premium. A pay raise is not really a pay raise when the board, in essence, takes the raise back in higher insurance premiums. Secondly, it's been brought to our attention that many teachers have already used their allotment of 8 COVID sick days, as well as many of their personal sick days due to quarantining and illness earlier in the school year. Levels of illness are rising in schools due to the unmasking of students, which has put school staff at risk both physically and now financially. As many teachers are concerned, they may have to take days without pay when they are ill or quarantining. When teachers have inadequate sick time and the school board chooses to prioritize the removal of illness prevention strategies that previously helped to protect them and their ability to work in person, a pay raise doesn't address these additional issues, and it seems performative. Is this board committed to raising teacher pay without raising the cost of benefits to its employees or forcing them to take unpaid sick days? If we want to recruit and retain excellent teachers, pay and benefit packages need to reflect that and address all of these concerns as well. Teacher pay should not just be addressed in recruiting either, but also in making sure that teachers who are employed here now make the decision to stay. A newly recruited teacher is important, but it should not be considered more important than retaining a teacher who has a history here in our community. Raises should reflect our desire to recruit and retain. I would also like to bring awareness to the fact that the Youth Risk Behavior Survey has been postponed, reportedly due to parental complaints. The results of this survey are incredibly important for our schools. This data is necessary to ensure that needed support is identified so that interventions can be targeted and planned and resources can be allocated properly. By eliminating this survey, school counselors, life counselors, and outside counseling service positions, as well as student services, are in jeopardy. It's also required by law that this survey be performed. The reasoning behind the delay has been described as related to parental complaints, which is interestingly at odds with the loudest protests coming from the same small group of parents who demanded parents' rights related to masking, and who appear to now be seeking a single approach to this survey, in spite of the fact that they have the right to opt their child out. Have your child take the survey or don't. My right to have my child take the survey should not be made by someone else. Our son was recently had to be opted out of a presentation at Hidden Valley Middle School by an evangelical pastor who claims to be an expert in mental health and substance abuse, and will be speaking on many of the topics addressed in the survey next month for the fee of $7,000. I urge this board to follow the law, to be consistent in its actions, and support students through the mental health crisis that COVID has caused in our community by moving forward with the Youth Risk Behavior Survey immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. All. Our next speaker, Kaylana Harvey. Good evening.
My name is Kaylana Harvey, and I would like to talk tonight about how the policies that we currently endorse are nothing short of discrimination. Discrimination for personal medical choices that should in no way impact a child's right to their education. My daughter is not vaccinated. We made this decision as a family with the knowledge that children are at extremely low risk of adverse events from COVID. Furthermore, we know that even vaccinated children get and spread this virus. So the argument that she should be vaccinated to protect other people doesn't hold water. It's just propaganda. From the beginning of this school year through the Christmas break, my daughter was forced to quarantine for a total of 6 weeks, 1/3 of her learning days lost. She missed out on so much during that time. What she didn't have during that time was a single symptom. Yet she was separated from her peers, forced to do virtual remote instruction. And although I'm sure that the teachers are trying, it's just not enough. It's just checking a box. There were many times when the teacher wouldn't put up, they have a lot going on in the classroom, and wouldn't put up the notes that they were talking about. She would write it in the chat. One time she wrote in the chat, "I can't see the notes." The teacher's next comment was, "Any questions?" She repeated that she could not see the notes that they were talking about, and his reply was, "Goodbye. This is unacceptable." In January, they said that my daughter would have to quarantine again because she was deemed to be a close contact and is unvaccinated. At the same time, there were 2 siblings in her class. One of them tested positive. They were both vaccinated. The sibling that was vaccinated was able to remain in school. Guess what happened? That child got COVID the next week, but my daughter never did, never had any symptoms. These policies are discriminated against unvaccinated students, and they don't have any basis in actual science. They're just the product of inane political agendas. As for the Test to Stay program, again, it's just discriminatory. The fact that only unvaccinated students are required to perform this invasive procedure every morning in order to enjoy the same education that their vaccinated peers receive, those who also transmit the virus, is insanity. It's time for these political agendas to be put to rest. It's time for a common sense approach where sick students stay at home and well students are allowed to be in school. It's time to stop pretending that the virus spread only comes from unvaccinated students. I know that these are the policies that you'll say you have to follow, but where does the ultimate responsibility lie? Who's approving this guidance? Are you legally obligated to deny students an education? We have gotten into a cycle where everyone has someone else to blame for the failures in our schools. I hope that you realize that the ultimate responsibility for our students' education lies with you. And I have faith that you as a board will find a way to take action and put our students' education first. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Next is Greg Irby. Welcome, Mr. Irby.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My purpose in coming this evening is to clarify some things that took place at the last meeting. The last time I addressed this board on January 27th, it was to voice my concern over how this board dealt with Governor Youngkin's executive order, which has now been signed into law, allowing parents to exercise their rights as parents with their children. Following my comments, and after most had left, I was called out by name, stating that I was being judgmental for calling individuals a hypocrite. For clarification purposes, I never called any one of you a hypocrite. The statement I made was the fact that some of you have been seen at school functions unmasked while requiring students to wear them shows how hypocritical you truly are. I followed up by an email that each of you should have received asking for a public clarification at the February 10th meeting. To my knowledge, that clarification still has not happened. I'm here this evening to make that clarification. I was accused of personally calling individuals on this board a hypocrite. That's blatantly false. The video where that accusation was made about me has been seen over 5,000 times, therefore that record needs to be clear. I never called any of you a hypocrite, but simply stated those who were seen doing what students and parents were not allowed to do as being hypocritical. That's what was said. I'll not allow my reputation nor my integrity to be tarnished by an assumption. Furthermore, I want to make some additional suggestions that I believe would help mend the divide that has been created by this board. Number one, students' records be expunged of disciplinary actions that were taken as a result of them obeying the governor's executive order, as was ordered by Circuit Judge James Fisher in Loudoun County decision removing the requirements for students to wear masks. Number two, public apologies be made by this board and the superintendents to the students who were suspended or expelled and their parents who were obeying the executive order that, again, you delayed to abide by. Principals who took it upon themselves or were directed by this board to suspend or expel students who were simply exercising their rights to obey the executive order. And again, they need to apologize to the student body on how this has been dealt with. Also, the SROs, which I side with the police, but who threaten students and parents with arrest for trespassing, being reprimanded or removed from their position. Someone has said the three most difficult statements to make is, I'm sorry, I was wrong, you were right. It's time for that to happen, especially to the students who were removed from the school, suspended or expelled, and threats were levied at students and parents. It's time for this to happen to those who were made to feel as if they were wrong, who were isolated from and embarrassed in front of their peers and teachers. It's time for humility. It's time to make things right, not to ignore or deny the wrongs that's taken place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irby. Next speaker, Brooke Risky. Welcome back.
Hello. My hope is that by now a meaningful dialogue has been initiated to formally debrief and audit the decision-making and outcomes resulting from the chaos of the past 2 years. So much that was thrown at us was beyond our control. But what are the lessons learned? How can we course correct? Who were our reliable leaders? Did we lose focus? How can leadership be improved? And the most vital question, how are our kids? It's my understanding that we will receive upwards of $28 million in COVID relief funding. I would like to first express my personal gratitude to the Director of Finance's leadership and advocacy for this funding. She is an asset to our district, and I hope that she gets properly recognized and rewarded for her work. It was very surprising to me that she seemingly led this charge on her own, though, and that the superintendent or other members of the central office staff did not take a more visible role in such an important process. And why were so few of our stakeholders consulted? It is my understanding that this board has been approving multi-million-dollar decisions based on the feedback of only 15 students, 17 teachers, and about 10 parents. That plus school principals and the superintendent's cabinet made up the noted contributors to the decisions on how to spend this money. The CARES Act and ARPA statutes state clearly that a LEA must engage in meaningful consultation with stakeholders, specifically students, families, school and district administrators, teachers, principals, school leaders, other educators, school staff, and their unions. Can our school district earnestly say that they did this? And who is accountable for this outcome? I find an obvious issue with communication and transparency here that I ask that it be addressed. When I look at the current spending, I see stipends and premium pay for our teachers that were secured less than 2 months after the money was deposited in the bank. And to be clear, I'm very glad that they received it. I only wish, and I'm disappointed, that whoever was advocating for our teachers did not have a stronger voice for our children. Unfinished learning comprises only 20% of the $28 million. I find that unacceptable. With less than 50 stakeholders consulted, over half of the $28 million already spent, I seriously hope that our leadership is willing to audit and course correct. You can clearly diagnose problems now that weren't as visible 1 to 2 years ago. An area of severe deficit that I'd like to bring to your attention is the preschool programs. Thus far, only $50,000 of $28 million has been dedicated to this area. Yet in the coming years, you will have growing numbers of young children walking through the school doors with significant challenges and delays. This occurs to me because I'm a parent of a preschool kid. Did you consult anyone like me when engaging with stakeholders? What other demographics and pressing needs are lurking in your blind spots? It's my understanding that you have about $14 million left to spend. Please do the right thing and spend this money on our children and address the unfinished learning.
Thank you, Ms. Risky. Next speaker, Laura Bowman. Welcome back, Ms. Bowman.
Laura Bowman from the Windsor Hills District. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. It's Public Schools Week, and I just want to share how much I love my public school system. My love for it began when I volunteered at Green Valley Elementary. Being in the school as often as I was, I saw how hard the students, teachers, and support staff members were working, and I saw how much love and care was poured into the children by their parents and their teachers. I loved that it was a real community where we all worked together for positive outcomes for all the kids. I felt that way at the middle and high school levels as well. COVID took away some vital components from that feeling of community in our public schools. Lack of community involvement in celebrations, sports, and other activities that brought us together in the past has had an impact on how some perceive our public schools. Especially lately, we've heard people, organizations, and media sources disparage our public schools. Claims of indoctrination and liberal wokeness have been repeated over and over, and some have started to believe things about our public schools that just aren't true. COVID has had a devastating impact on so many people's lives, and privatizers of public education never let a crisis go to waste. By repeating disinformation and preying on people's fears, they found a way to cash in on kids and use this disinformation in an attempt to destroy our public schools, often the hearts of our communities and a cornerstone of our American democracy. I recently watched an education committee hearing where Virginia's new Secretary of Education, Amy Gadara, called our public schools failing. Virginia's public schools are ranked 6th in the nation. I'd hardly call that failing, but some will hear what she said and blindly believe it. We know better than that. We're able to see the value in the neighborhood public schools 90% of us send our kids to, and overwhelmingly, we want to see those schools better supported. We don't want our tax dollars meant for the common good siphoned away to private pockets. For the past decade, I've been almost singularly focused on supporting kids, teachers, and public schools, and I know a threat to them when I see one. This Saturday, there's an event taking place in Lynchburg, a school board summit sponsored by the Noah Webster Educational Foundation. Reading through its list of sponsors and panelists, I was alarmed. The summit is an orchestrated attempt to undermine public schools, and it's my ardent hope that none of Roanoke County's school board members are planning to attend. To do so would send the message that those school board members don't support public schools and public school teachers. I assure you, optics matter. Please don't be a part of a well-funded effort to destroy public schools from within. I was so pleased to receive an email from RCPS on Valentine's Day with the subject line, Opportunity Ready. It was full of all the good things happening in our public schools. We should recognize those good things and celebrate the many people who work and learn in our public schools. We should strive to ensure they have all of the resources they need to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. And our final speaker, Martha Kilburn. Good evening, Ms. Kilburn.
Sorry about the chatty kid back there.
That's okay.
Trying. Good evening, Martha Kilburn. I'm over in the Hollins District. I want to talk to you a little bit about your schools and your staff. I've been up here before, and as you can see, my children are unique learners. Between them, we cover a lot of the different disability categories under IDEA, which means that they are entitled to and deserving of specifically designed instruction. Education that meets them where they are and helps them to learn. Sometimes that's happened, and we've achieved things beyond my wildest dreams. That's why we need to invest in, celebrate, and hang on to those teachers with both hands, those gems when they show up. Many years ago, when my daughter was in 5th grade, she had an incredible teacher. She started early in the school year telling us that the 5th grade class was going to Washington and she hoped to take her students along. She simply saw opportunities and a few fences in her way, but she did it. She took my daughter and 2 incredible young men and a paraprofessional, and they boarded that bus with the other 5th grade students, and they did what appealed to our kids, and they came home with the biggest smiles on their faces. Because she didn't say, this is too much, or how are we going to do it? She just included them. Those 3 made so much progress that year. They learned to navigate the school, carrying items to the office independently, or as independently as they could, since they each relied on the others for support. Each knew their strength and that they were a vital member of that team. They were finally able to move around the building without an adult. That is huge, huge for some of our kids. She was just as lucky when she moved into the middle school. Her teacher only sees growth and possibilities for the students. They work on life skills, promoting independence, social skills, educational goals. Her teacher has learned to adapt to their needs. And she makes it seem effortless. I don't think you have a clue what a blessing it is to have teachers like that in our schools. 2 weeks ago, some of us listened to Ms. Brooks talk about her struggles as a teacher. If her passion for helping children didn't move you, I don't know what will. But you need to find those gems, figure out how we can hang on to them, build them up, use them to mentor others so that the staff at Roanoke County Public Schools can become stronger. That science teacher who has a passion for teaching biology needs to know that he has a resource down the hall for teaching that student who needs extra help, or maybe a little bit of a different approach to help him learn. Our teaching programs can't begin to prepare teachers for what it's like to teach all the unique needs out there. So it is up to you to find the best, and make Roanoke County Schools the destination to teach from. We have some amazing teachers. You need to stop talking and start listening. You need to listen to them, to our bus drivers, to our mechanics who don't want to be bus drivers, to the ladies who make our kids get fed every day, to the staff cleaning the schools, the front office staff who control the chaos, and many others. You need to work on building a team and not dividing people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kilburn. All right, on to item number 8 to the consent agenda. And items on the consent agenda, for those that may not be aware, have usually been discussed at length either at a previous board meeting or at a work session. And I have been gone over by the board previously. So not something light that we're just skipping over, but something that we have reviewed and gone over at length before. So I have a motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, the roll.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We have no action items this evening, so the next item, number 10, information agenda. Request to accept 2019 School Security Equipment Grant. Mr. Jeff Terry, is that the right date on there? Okay.
There's an explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. Since 2013, the state of Virginia has provided school districts an opportunity to apply for school security equipment. The funds for this competitive grant must be used by June of the award year. Any unused funds will be redistributed to school divisions who were initially denied the security grant request. That's the 2019 So in 2019, we applied for an intercom system upgrade at BCAT. Although this request was initially declined, we have been notified of a partial award for the 2019 security grant in the amount of $438.88. There is a required 25% match of $109.72. Staff recommends the acceptance of the 2019 VDOE security grant for a total project cost of $548.60. The grant amount of $438.88 will be received from the VDOE and allocated from minor capital grant reserves. The 25% local match of $109.72 will be spent from local funds and will be allocated from minor capital reserves. I'll be happy to take any questions.
What will $548.60 get us?
I was expecting that question. About the only thing it's going to get us will be a couple of speakers. This was an intercom grant that we applied for. We might get a couple of speakers and some cabling. We have visited BCAT several times on intercom needs, and more than likely it'll be some speakers in the hallway in the main building.
Very good.
Somebody 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. And will that be on the consent agenda at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 10.02, COVID-19 update. Dr. Stigall.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Nicely. So let's take a look at our numbers. They're going to be a little bit odd looking tonight. So if you look at our dates, February 13th to the 19th, this is the most update for Roanoke County. We are at 11.3% positivity rate. We are at a negative 0.95, okay? And I know you're going to ask me why we're at a negative, and I'm going to tell you that in just a second. If you take a look at the far left where it says cases and percent positivity, a lot of people have been talking about when and how do we get to substantial or moderate, because we really are wanting to get to moderate. So in order to do that, both the percent of positivity and the transmission level have to drop at the same time. So both of them have to be low. So if you see currently we're at negative 0.9, that would tell you that we should be dropping on this chart. The reason we're not dropping on this chart is because we're still at 11.3 positivity rate. And until that drops, you can see the percentages there. So to get the moderate, that positivity rate has to be at 5 and under, and the case count has to be at 10 and under. Once we get there, that's when we'll hit moderate.
Takes a miracle,
It
right?
takes a
Takes
lot.
a miracle.
It takes a lot to get there.
We'll
Yes,
even drop it all.
it does. And they have to drop in tandem. Why do we have negative case numbers? So I reached out to Dr. Morrow because when we all looked at the dashboard, we're like, okay, this makes no sense. Why are we in the negative and why are we not dropping? Basically what has happened is when people are tested, it's by zip code. And so when they were getting 650 cases at one time during the Omicron, they were doing it so quickly, they were only focusing on contact tracing and high-risk locations. So they really didn't have time to go back and double-check their work. So they were assigning the jurisdictions by zip code only. Now what they've done, since the cases have dropped, they have more time, they're going back and looking at those individual cases and they're divvying them back out into the correct jurisdictions. Perfect example is they just sent 450 of Roanoke County cases to Bedford County. So that's why we're showing a negative number rather than where we're truly sitting. We are truly sitting at 250 a day approximately right now for Roanoke County, but our number is showing a negative number. How long will it take them to clean this up? I'm not sure. They said be prepared because these numbers will go up and down because other localities have our numbers, right? So they're going to be sending us cases and we're going to be sending them cases. So basically, the numbers are not something that we can use right now because they're in flux. So if you were to look at the numbers, you can look at the case counts. And of course, here it shows we have dropped. It's using that negative number. And then you can see the percent positivity has come down, but not to the level that it would need to. Vaccination rates have changed in a very slow rate. They're not showing much increase, but they are increasing. Here's our numbers of total positives in our schools up to yesterday, our February date. You can see we had 43 staff members who tested positive. Clearly a lower number than January, but not so far off of the other months that we've had. Students, We had 238 positive students, and of course, big difference from January, but not so much from the other months. Exposures, obviously, the exposures have gone down significantly because of not contact tracing. We've only had 4 staff members. We are contact tracing staff members, so that's an accurate number. And then students were at 35. And then the Test to Stay program, we were very discouraged when we called. We've called 3 times now because they told us they had shipped. We called asking where are they, and we found out they were delivered to Roanoke City, and Roanoke City turned them away because they didn't belong to them. So they told us today they're reshipping them. So hopefully we will get them soon, but that was a mistake on their part. They sent it to the wrong school division. We did talk to Roanoke City when we were talking to them about how it's been going for them. They started last week. They've only had 4 students who have chosen, 2 were siblings to participate. So the numbers are fairly low. But we'll have it as an option for those who are unvaccinated and who choose to test to stay in school.
How many kits do we have coming?
How many kits? Oh, we have several hundred. We've got more than, and we just keep reordering if we need more. So we will have plenty once they get here. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Back to the person that came in and asked or brought up vaxxed versus unvaxxed.
Mm-hmm.
Are we treating the kids differently? Because we had this issue with the teachers, and we cleared that up, and we're not treating them differently.
So in order to participate in the Test to Stay program, it is a program that's provided by the VDOE and the health department. So in order to participate, you have to follow the protocols. And the protocols are that it's only for unvaccinated individuals, and they have to be asymptomatic. Currently, under health department guidance, vaccinated students who are asymptomatic don't quarantine anyway. So the reason it looks like that, we're already following guidance that says vaccinated asymptomatic do not have to quarantine. Now we're trying to get the unvaccinated asymptomatic not to have to quarantine. In order to do that, they're requiring the testing.
And so the reason we're doing that is Virginia Department of Health.
The health and the VDOE got together and said, here's a program to help get kids back into school and not have to quarantine and still follow.
And now we're not contact tracing.
Right.
We're not quarantining.
What's happening is if they're getting, like if they have COVID in their households and they're quarantined, if they're unvaccinated, they're quarantining, they go on the quarantine list because they've been exposed. It doesn't have to be in school, it could be outside of school.
Only the unvaccinated.
Yes, because if you're vaccinated and asymptomatic, you do not have to quarantine.
I don't get it. I don't know that I
Health
have to
Department
get it.
guidance.
I don't know that I have to get it, but
Right.
I don't get it because, it makes no sense.
Yep.
A
And
lot hasn't made sense.
No, I get that. And we just saw a chart
That doesn't make sense either.
but anyway.
Right.
That's.
Yeah, I think that the health department has this guidance that we've been following. Of course, it has changed. And I think they keep throwing things at it to help get more kids back in school. And I think that's where the Test to Stay program came.
So in order to change that in some fashion, I'm not saying we are, to change that, because we know that vaccinated get, I just had it a couple weeks ago, vaccinated, right? People that aren't vaccinated get it, right? Kids are no different than adults, except that they don't, typically it's not as bad for them. What do we have to do to change that?
Health department has to change their guidance. We follow health department guidance. CDC regulates health department regulates what we do at K-12 schools.
Can we ask Dr. Morrow about that? Not the region.
Right.
So then Governor Youngkin should
Mhm.
be able to.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes no sense, but okay. Thank you. I'm not.
I know it would be, I know when I've presented these numbers, I was like, this is confusing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Rhonda, do you mind? I'm getting, first of all, I was in a lot of my schools this week, and it was great to see all the kids smile. It was wonderful. I just have a couple questions for you. Parents and actually teachers are asking me, when are the kids leaving their classrooms to go back to the cafeteria? And I didn't even put two and two together, but a lot of the teachers are actually on double duty, because not only are they with the kids all day in the same four walls, they're with them for lunch. And I was visiting these classrooms, and I could smell peanut butter, I could smell everything. And anyway, long story short, they're also the sanitation committee, because they're coming in and cleaning up after the children, and they're quite tired of this. So I guess my question to you is, I know there's talk about these CDC guidelines. My understanding is they're just guidelines. Who's making this decision? Why is it that other schools are doing things differently? They're back. I mean, I have friends all over, and their cafeterias are open. Who's making this decision? And when is there an end date? Like, where are we? Are we doing this forever?
So hopefully not. So the CDC guidance, you're right, it is guidance, and it's really based on whether you're in high and substantial. They recommend you follow that guidance. When you get down to moderate is when they recommend you can start lifting some of these mitigation strategies we have in place, which would be the distancing in the cafeteria. So
They're just as close in the classroom, to be honest with you.
right, yeah. And
They really
clearly,
are.
we're not dropping yet. We will be. I mean, I really think we're just weeks away from where I'm hopeful if we get the numbers cleaned up. But we can't be too far away from our numbers dropping. So I'm hopeful very soon. We just basically what they tell us to do is use the guidance, put the mitigation strategies in place, and when your numbers drop, you can choose which mitigation strategies you feel like are necessary at that point in time in your community.
Okay. A lot of it doesn't make any sense, but okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you for doing all the work. I know it's hard, especially with wonky numbers that are negative 9.6.
So if I understand this correctly, we're supposed to rely on numbers that are not accurate.
That's correct.
Yes. Oh, did you? Yeah, that's perfect. That's a great summation. Yeah, and so it's odd when I hear from other families and other friends and other parts of the state that are in Loudoun County and elsewhere, and they are full back to normal. I mean, they're in cafeterias, so I don't understand how their guidance that they're following can be different from our guidance, because it's all the same guidance. It's really interpretation of the guidance to some level. So I would just like to see, for the sake of our teachers and our students, for this Roanoke County school system to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And I think I speak for a lot of people.
Thank you, Dr. Stigall.
All right, thank you.
Item number 11, report by Superintendent, Dr. Nicely.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to wish good luck to a lot of our boys and girls who are participating in sports teams. I know the regional and state play for winter sports is taking place. I think we have games going on as we speak. So wish them the best and much success at the regional and state level. We want to thank the folks from William Byrd High School, or Middle School, excuse me. I want to thank Mr. Kegels for coming out and with the students. Just all the folks at William Byrd Middle School for all they're doing for our students. And I'm just really proud of the two that spoke tonight, and great to see those examples of deeper learning and authentic learning that our students engage with. The Citizens Advisory Committee that's working to move the project for our new Burton Center, which we're excited to see move forward, continues to work. I know next week they're taking a trip to visit a couple centers and some other localities to get some further ideas. And so look forward to their report and see what they come back with. Likewise, last week we had a tour over at William Byrd High School where we're doing that complete renovation at that space. I want to thank the board members who were able to come out and make that tour. That project is on track, and look forward to seeing it completed at the end of next school year for the citizens over and the students over at Byrd High School. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nicely. All right, item number 12, reports and inquiries of board members. We'll start down here on the right tonight. Mr. Ray.
Again?
Oh, did we start? Did I not start that?
I'm fine, whatever y'all want to do.
No, I'm good. Had the pleasure of attending the all-district choirs on Saturday, February the 12th. It was held at Cave Spring High School. Very great event. It was students from all over the district that came together, and we had Roanoke County was well represented. And I commend Mr. Elliott for his hard work that he does putting this program, making sure that the students are participating. I was sitting beside a friend who had a Patrick Henry student there that was singing as well, and it's all over the district, and it was really good. Also attended the science fair at Northside this past Saturday, and it was well attended, and it's amazing these projects that these students have and how they come up with these ideas. And to really they don't just present, they have a solution. They're carrying on with their research and investigation in some of these things. And it was well attended, and I mean, it's just amazing what these students are doing. Dr. Nicely mentioned about district play. I know Cave Springs playing Abington tonight. And Northside is playing Lord Botetourt, so they're leading it to half, so that's good. And then if they both win, they'll be playing Saturday. So, anyway, and Cheryl and I, as she said earlier, we visited some schools, some of the joint schools that we sort of the way it is where kids end up going to either Hidden Valley or going to Cave Springs. So we had a real nice visit. It's amazing to see these teachers and what they're doing in these classrooms and these kids, how they're interacting and how they're making learning fun. And it just really, and all of us attend our schools, and it's just it's a pleasure to go and see these things going on. So, a lot of great things happening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Mr. Greenway.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, let me say how proud I am of William Byrd Middle School. Wow, that was a great presentation. Awesome. Oh, I need to pull this. Proud of William Byrd Middle School. I'm proud of all of our schools. I'm proud of the high school. I'm proud of our elementary schools, and all across the county. I think we have people that, the last 2 years have robbed us of stories like this. And I love it when we come to these meetings and we do hear stories or hear from our students. So I like that we're doing the report on schools, and it's wonderful. One thing I want to say to, is it Ms. Kroll, that we had last year no increase in benefits. It wasn't, we do need to raise the pay. We're all committed to that, and we do need to change the trajectory and get these. We should double your pay, but we obviously don't have the funds in the budget to do that. But last year, we were fortunate enough we didn't have to raise the benefits, thank goodness. So that was 1 year that you got, the raise. And we've been committed as a board that every year we've made raises. It, again, is not enough. It wasn't much, and there were benefits that sometimes eat into that. So we're hoping to make a substantial impact this year through the budget, and stay tuned. We have our work session next Tuesday, I believe, and so we'll be talking about that. One quick question I've heard from some of our Title I schools, Dr. Nicely, I'd like to know, and I don't think Ms. Peterson's here now, but or if she is, I don't see her. SPED teachers in our Title I schools, I've heard from a couple of folks that they'd like to keep those, obviously. And I know that our ARPA, ESSA, all those funds are moving parts. Have we had any discussions yet as we put this budget together about the SPED teachers at the Title I schools?
So far in your work sessions in January, we've had the first session, Ms. Peterson's presented what we know are going to be some of the costs, the increase in costs and so forth. The last work session, she addressed the compensation.
Are they proposed in those? No.
So this coming the one Tuesday, we'll get more into some of the fine tune. So
right. So
that's definitely something you can look into.
So let me. Is the suggestion coming Tuesday for that? Is that what you're saying?
It would be part of the discussion.
Okay.
If you want to bring it up for discussion, that's all part of the budget
Right.
process.
So that's part of, and I can't remember the millions that was a part of the money we received that we said we could move and kind of massage the numbers as we go for 3 years, right? So that's a part of that money, correct?
We'll have to discuss it on Tuesday. I don't have that information in front of me.
All right, so we'll get with Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Would you be kind enough, or I can send an email, whichever you want
Happy
to do.
to.
But I'd like to see if we can continue that with Title I schools, and there's like 6 of them. So if we can talk about that, and I'll send an email if I need to. And the last thing is, Mr. Lowe, you stayed here too long. So there's an $8,000 piece of equipment that I asked about this week that I never heard any reply for. And I'd like to get that $8,000 piece of equipment that was allocated a year ago to help with the fields at Byrd. So I don't care what we got to do, how we got to do it, but I'd like to get that.
I spoke with Ms. Newcomb, their principal at the high school, earlier this week, and they were able to get the current piece of equipment repaired.
And we
so
said
they're
we
good for
couldn't
now.
repair here, we got repaired there. That sufficed going over to I'll get with Ms. Newcomb, we'll figure it all out. But, we allocate this, right? I'm sorry to bring it up in this, but I didn't get a response.
I did respond to you.
You did, but I didn't get a response that you said I would have gotten a response.
It's been ordered, and
So how long is the order? Do you know
we
when
don't
the
have a
order's
ship date
coming in?
yet.
Excuse me? Still do not have a ship date. All right, I'll work on it. And I think that's it, but I just want to make sure that, when softball, when baseball's through, when tennis is through, I'm hoping they're starting that day with these projects. And I know we've got other schools that are in line as well. Is that the intention? Okay. And we won't be doing this another year. That's my concern. That's all. Agreed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Greenway. Ms. Fashani.
Yes. The students are no longer here, but I want to thank them once again for everything that they did, going to the Capitol, taking initiative and putting their mouths to work and getting action done. It's really important that everybody continues to do that. So also to Mike mentioned earlier, Mike and I had a great time. We toured most of the schools, all of the schools that we shared, and I finished up and toured all of my schools. I probably spent an hour to sometimes 2 at each school, meeting the principals, the assistant principals, the front staff, special ed teachers, regular teachers, IAs. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it tremendously, seeing the artwork up on the walls, the kids engaging with the teachers, music classes taking place, kids smiling, just enjoying themselves was really just heartfelt and just made me really feel great about where our schools are and the happenings that are taking place. I just want to tell one little story. It was so cute because one kid out of the blue saw his principal walking down the hall, and I think we all remember those days when you were little, you weren't sure if you could hug the principal or not hug the principal, and the kid just kind of looked at her and she's like, yeah, you can give me a hug. And it really made me reaffirm where we are with Roanoke County Schools and how great we are, and we're just doing a great job. And I want to thank all the principals that are out there and the assistant principals, and of course our teachers who are working so hard diligently every single day to make our schools the best that they are and continue to do so. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson.
I'll reiterate what Cheryl said. Very proud of those William Byrd Middle students, and wow, that young teacher to get behind those children, not only teach them how the system works, but encourage them and get behind them and see it through to where they could actually have their voice heard. That's just amazing. I'm very proud to have her on staff. In terms of, I'll reiterate also what Mr. Greenway said about pay raises. I'm very aware that we're very behind in our compensation for our teachers, and look forward to hopefully getting some good numbers here in the next couple of weeks and be able to help with that, as well as also being a product of a government employee. I understand how it is to get a pay raise and then your benefits with health insurance eat the entire pay raise. So been there, done that. understand that, and I hope that we can do some really good things for our teachers, because we got to work on recruitment and also retaining the best teachers. We want to have the best staff possible. In regards to fields, I'll touch on that as well. I'll get with you, Mr. Lowe, actually, after the meeting, if you'll hang out after. I want to talk to you about some situations we got over in our district. But other than that, I'll make one statement. One speaker brought up a situation that happened on the 24th in my district. And I just want to say that I'm not going to comment on the situation at hand, but I will comment on the fact that I've worked next to that principal for many years as the SRO, and I was very impressed with how she conducts business. I still work with her today, I'll bet in a different situation or a different scenario, but I have a lot of confidence in her and her abilities, and I'm proud to have her there, as well as the SRO. I've worked next to that SRO for many years in this valley in the face of danger, and I've watched him work, and I'm very proud to have him there. And I'm comfortable sending my kids to Glenver schools knowing he's there. So I'll just touch on that. But I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and speaking, and your voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Just as this is School Board Appreciation Month, last week was School Board Clerk Appreciation Week, and I wanted to just thank our school board clerk, Ms. Roberson, as well as Ms. Purdue. They keep us in line up here and also help keep Dr. Nicely in line, so we do appreciate it, everything that you guys do for us. Had an opportunity to tour William Byrd High School last week, and wow, between Hughes Associates and Avis Construction, they are doing a beautiful job over there. That facility is something that I know the Vinton community is going to be extremely proud of. The first phase is almost done, and I know those kids will be excited to get back in the classroom. It is beautiful. So, and appreciate the nice article that appeared in the Roanoke Times on that. So, always good to see some good publicity on that. Also excited to see the quarantine numbers coming down, which means more kids are in school and getting that in-person learning. We're at down 90% from where we were, I think, just last month. So, excited to see that. Wanted to take an opportunity to thank or congratulate J.B. Dragovich from Hidden Valley, who won the 120-pound state championship in wrestling this past week. I don't know if you saw it, but there was also a very nice article on him in the Roanoke Times last week, just before the state tournament. He was adopted from Ethiopia and came here to the United States when he was 4. So I hope we have an opportunity to bring him in and formally congratulate him in front of the board, but that was a great accomplishment for him. So I did just get a text from the principal there at Northside, and Northside has advanced to the state tournament, so congratulations to Coach Pope.
Cave Spring has as well.
Cave Spring has as well. Congratulations to Coach
Another
Bruce.
matchup.
We will see each other Saturday night over at Cave Spring. I look forward to that.
Yes, sir.
With that, meeting adjourned.